Welcome to Make It, Share It, the podcast where we explore the simple but profound process to overcome fear, doubt, perfectionism, and more enemies of creativity. Make it and share it.
We'll talk to creators of all kinds, from artists and writers to entrepreneurs and inventors, to learn about their creative process, the challenges they faced, and how they overcame them by making and sharing.
Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or someone who wants to create but feels stuck, this podcast is for you. Creativity, meet courage. Welcome back to Make It, Share It. My name's Kent Rabelais, and I'm joined, as always, by Lauren Chandler and Stephen Cooper.
Hello.
Hey.
And then today, we're pumped to welcome Ian Verdugo and Caleb Davis, the producers of the TV pilot Restorage, which is going to be at Slamdance. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, they're there and enjoying that incredible experience. We'll talk about that. And I believe premiered at the Austin Film Festival. Was that its like official premiere?
Yeah, it was the official world/Texas premiere.
Love it. That's awesome. So we're going to just talk as usual about how they made Restorage and what it's been like to share it. But just to kind of get things started, we always like to ask just like a fun question. So for both of you, what is your favorite place in the world to vacation and why?
I'll start. My wife and I, for our 1 year anniversary, I know, big deal, 1 year, we did a road trip from Seattle down to San Diego, and we drove the whole coast and we camped along the way. I mean, we started marriage. We like honeymooned in Hawaii, and that was nice. But doing the road trip, ever since then, I don't know if there's been a more fun vacation that we have. Like, we went to the Bahamas. That was nice, but it was so cool to drive there or fly there, camp literally along the coastal highway the whole way. That was incredible. An Olympic National rainforest up in Seattle is breathtaking. So that for me was, I would love to go back someday and live there.
So your
forever.
favorite place to vacation is the entire West Coast.
You know, listen, there weren't specifics on. Yes.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah.
No, I think
No. Yeah,
I agree.
Yes, absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, Seattle is beautiful.
Yeah.
Seattle's
Had me until you said and camped all the way down. I was like, yeah, this sounds great. Hold on.
well. Okay, we stayed
Yeah.
in Airbnbs a couple times. So
Okay.
we camped a couple
Okay.
times. Then we would stay in an Airbnb. We also, we did the whole thing. We went to like Disneyland.
Okay.
We didn't camp in Disneyland. But yes, it was
Okay.
well balanced.
Okay.
Well balanced.
No. No camping here.
Camping is. We had never camped before. Now we're just talking about camping. So it's fascinating.
Oh,
But we had never camped before. So we got a van and we camped inside of the van. So we would like blow up an air mattress. So we had a mosquito net. So it
Okay.
was, it wasn't tent ground camping,
Okay.
quite. It was nice. It was nice.
Okay. I could maybe do that.
Yeah, it was. And again, Olympic National Rainforest up in Seattle is, if you have not been, beautiful and breathtaking. So go visit Seattle.
That's amazing.
The show note, a link to to that in the show notes. Personally.
Please. That's why I'm here. If that's what they told me I was going to be doing today.
I think for me, only because I've gone once, is Santa Fe, New Mexico. Because Rachel and I drove there. Rachel's my wife. We drove there while we were in college. Like, I think probably a few months into our marriage, and then we went to Santa Fe, and like the sunrises and sunsets were just like unlike anything. And it snowed while we were there, and then the sun came out and the snow all melted, so it was like so magical. So it's stuck in my head that is the most magical place to vacation. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. This was like 10 years ago. So Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Love it. Great answers. All
Yeah.
right, so now I'm just gonna get deep. So that was your fun question. Now it's time to get deep. Which is we like to do a turning point just to hear about something when you were younger that really turned the way that you think and live and relate in the world. So it usually people are answering it as it relates to the creative space. So feel free to do that, but it's up to you. Yeah, so just would love to hear that. Just as it's a way to get to know someone, and for our listeners to get to know you guys a little bit more. So, Ian, do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go creative because if I
Yeah,
don't, it'll go real heavy real quick.
I hear you.
Um, but I think creatively maybe like a pretty big turning point for me in regards to like movies and storytelling was I watched my mom. I think we went to like the Dollar Theater. My mom and my sister and I we went to go see the Royal Tenenbaums
Mhm.
at the Dollar Theater, and there's like a moment where I forget the Eagle's name, but the Eagle's like flying and like Hey Jude is playing like as the underscore of the music. And during that movie, I remember being like, "Oh, like you can make something you can tell a story that isn't just like a bunch of explosions and like a lot of action. Like this can be really funny and heartfelt and absolutely heartbreaking and really, really truthful about like a really messed up family." Um, so that to me, I think I was like, I just saw myself in that movie, and that was the first time I had ever experienced that. Uh, and so that I think was a turning point creatively where it's like, oh, okay, like movies are more than just, you know, explosions and cars and, fart jokes, as much as I love those. Um, so that's for me.
That's great. Kayla, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's very similar. My dad would show me a lot of movies that probably I wasn't supposed to see at a really young age. Like I remember, and this is so bad. I hope he doesn't hear this, but I mean, this is his fault. I remember being 10 years old and he was watching Apocalypse Now and he was like, "You're fine. You can watch it." And I'm like, that is such a heavy, really like heavy movie. But what was great about that is he was so willing to show me all of these films. And so from a very young age, again, I think I watched The Godfather at like 12. He was just like way too young. And that's what I'm doing with my children right now too. Like that. No, he he was just, putting all of these really incredible movies at really such a young age. And something that we would do that was really influential for me, but also just for my faith, growing up in a family of believers, is my dad. Every Sunday, he had this list of Jesus films, and he would constantly play these Jesus films. And I remember from a really young age, probably about 3 or 4, as I would just be captivated by these films. And there's one film in particular. I think it's just the Jesus film that maybe was made by the Trinity Broadcasting. I don't know. It's older. And we would watch it, and then at the end, and he would just be on. He would be cooking, and at the end, there's like a narrator, I think, through it, and he would go through the Lord's Prayer, and it would also be an invitation to accept Jesus. And I remember just being a kid, like 3 or 4, on the couch watching this Jesus film, and my dad's in the back, and I'm just going through it like the Lord's Prayer, and then I would just ask Jesus to be in my heart, not really knowing what that sort of meant. But it's cool to look back and think like, oh, some of my most influential moments in my life not only came from these films, um, but also with my faith as well, where literally I'm sitting there just being exposed as a kid to this film that's depicting a super white Jesus, and watching this, and it's actively having an effect on me, not only in a way where you know film is sort of like, oh, this is interesting to tell this story, but it's a story of something very personal to me and my family at the time. Um, and then I think where I really caught on was in a similar experience to Ian. I was watching an Alfred Hitchcock marathon. Probably I was like 14 or 15 that was on television. And there was a film that came on, Verdugo, with Jimmy Stewart and Karen Novak, I think. And it was, I think, the first time where I felt truly captivated from beginning to end. And the way that film ends is so weird and mysterious. And I think it was at that moment I was like, okay, I've got to do that. I don't know what that looks like, but I need to be a part of telling stories through this medium. And again, whatever capacity that's going to look like. No Jesus in that movie, but that's okay. That's okay.
Dude, I didn't know that about your dad. That's cool.
I like picturing 5th grade Caleb going to the lunchroom, sitting down with his friends after just watching Apocalypse Now. And they're all talking about like the cowboy game. And he's like, I learned about psychological warfare and how war is so horrible yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah. I'd be like, guys, you know what napalm is? You know what napalm is? They'd be like, no, we don't know.
Like, yeah, that's the heaviest 10-year-old kid I've ever met in my life.
Oh yeah. And that's why I'm in counseling. And I mean, we're there. So, but it's
That's
great.
so
hey, it's great. I
At
feel
least
fine.
you lumped it out with the Jesus film.
That's
on
a total
Sunday.
yin yang.
That's right. It's like
Okay.
Sundays was for Jesus, and every other day was just hardcore war and violence to, really teach me the lessons of how
Yep.
brutal humanity can be.
Well, thank you guys for sharing that. It's all, you just never know what's going to be in the mystery box, which I do want to ask about the mystery box in a little bit here. But so let's talk about Restorage. Let's do a few things just for context for people. So one of you can just do a synopsis, for those of the listeners, like, what is this? And then two, just talk about like a TV pilot. This is different than a short film, that someone might be watching, kind of maybe for context, what that is for people that are, again, not aware of some of these terms. So let's just start with the synopsis. Either one of you can take that one.
Caleb, I'll let you do it. You've done it a million times.
Okay. Yeah. So the synopsis for Restorage is it's a sci-fi dramedy about a family whose patriarch, the father of the family, has just died. And at a will reading, our main character Chase and his siblings are expecting to get some valuables to be bequeathed something from this wealthy patriarch. So the brother gets the family business, the sister gets the family estate, and then our main character Chase, who you're kind of seeing is a little bit of the black sheep of the family, he gets a storage unit and the contents of whatever is in this storage unit. So you're kind of getting a little bit of the drama, a little bit of backstory with the family. Their mother is in a coma, and you're kind of seeing that it's torn the family apart. Some little details like you would have in a pilot. And as Chase slowly makes his way through his day, he finally makes it to the storage unit, and there's nothing in the storage unit. So the father has left him nothing. But you come to find out that the storage unit has the ability to fix anything that's placed inside of it that is broken. That's kind of the general concept. And essentially what we were playing with is a family drama about dysfunction and what it looks like to give maybe the most dysfunctional character in the show the ability to sort of fix everything around him. But at the same time, kind of maybe like then breaking everything in the process. Like he basically takes that thing and then just fails epically with it. So I think that's kind of right, Ian.
Dude, honestly, I just texted you. That was the best synopsis I feel like that we've gotten. I'm not even joking. That was like, it was perfect. So, that was great.
Well, I'm sure I left a ton of stuff out, but I
mean, just for like high level, that's like what it is. That's a general gist. And then to answer what Kent was saying about like what a pilot is, essentially, it's like the very first episode of a TV show. And so instead of it being a short film where it's just standalone, or a feature film where it's like in theaters or just goes on Netflix, the pilot is sort of like kind of plays as a proof of concept for potential, buyers or potential networks or whatever it might be, to then tell a longer story through a series or a season. So, yeah.
Perfect. That was great. Thank you both for
For
that.
me,
So yeah, go ahead.
this is kind of like my worst nightmare. Like I loved the pilot. Let me just start there. I'm big high on Ian. Ian has directed multiple music videos for my old band. I love Ian and his work.
Yes.
So I'm
Me
all
too.
in.
Me
So,
too.
I won't watch new shows until they get at least renewed for a second or third season, because as a storyteller or songwriter, like if there's no end, I want to go to LA and find the guy and be like, what was the ending? Just tell me. Just let's go to
Okay.
coffee. So watching a pilot
Yeah.
is like
It's
my
like-
worst nightmare, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I at least needed 11 other episodes, even if
Yeah.
you don't get renewed for season 2. So to have one and it just is setting it all up and then be like, and you're done. I was like, Ian, we're going to have to go to coffee, and I'm going to need outline. I need some story arcs. I need a few. I need to know what's coming, because it's eating at my brain. But that also, I think, tells me that it's really good.
Yeah.
And I was in on multiple levels.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
good job, guys. I think
I'm coming to that
Our
breakfast or lunch or whatever y'all are having because I'm with you. Like, when I see a series is like limited series, I'm like, yes, that means it's done. I know the end.
Yeah.
But then multiple seasons are great because the story keeps going and keep learning. So I love that. But I'm with you, Coop. I want to know what's happening.
Yeah. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. I think that was something that we really wanted to accomplish with
Yeah.
it. And honestly, that was maybe one of the most fun parts of crafting the story, was thinking about sort of breaking down how a pilot works, right? It's really just all set up. It's all
Mhm.
set up so that when the Netflix, countdown to the next episode happens, you don't turn it off. It literally just will transport you immediately to the next episode. And that's very much what we tried to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, Ian, you can speak into that. That was maybe one of the most fun parts of all of this, is just sitting down with Ian in a coffee shop and coming up with that outline of, okay, cool. We've got the beats. We know there's the family, there's dysfunction, there's this, the will reading, the storage unit. But how do we get to the point to the very last frame where it cuts to black and you will just want
Yeah.
to continue to the next episode?
Yeah. We kept like referencing, I don't know if you guys have seen the show Dead to Me or Living with Yourself, or Breaking Bad. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, have you
But,
seen
like,
Breaking
all-
Bad?
I've heard of
all
it.
Yeah. Not
all
many
of
people
the
have.
pilots, all of the like first episodes, the pilots, they're all set up, but they like get you sucked into the characters, and then they leave you with like 100 questions. And so we really wanted to be like, how can we like, set stuff up to where people can get engaged and interested in who these characters are, but also and tease a ton of things without giving anything away in the first episode. Because it seems like that's what the pilots we really like seem to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. So sorry, Cooper. Like we don't. Hi, Kalila. We don't have anything else filmed. So, but we can have coffee and we can talk about it all.
Yeah.
That's all I need. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. So in the making of this, Caleb, you were just sharing about being in the coffee shop and you've got the beats, but like take me back a little bit further, even to the genesis of it. What sparked the idea? And I referenced Mystery Box. Can't believe we've done this many episodes without me referencing the J.J. Abrams TED Talk. So here it is. It'll be in the show notes. You're welcome, everybody. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, I wonder if this was like, oh, that's we love mystery boxes, and conversations like that, or you're like, what? I don't know who J.J. Abrams is or mystery boxes, which I know isn't true. But anyway, yeah, thoughts, like, how did it, what kind of started down the road, or started this down the road?
Yeah. So I think, what happened is Caleb and I, we made a short film, uh, like a sketch comedy short film called Good Cop, Bad Cop. It's very over the top ridiculous. We were shooting in a studio where like one I guess like I was hired by this production company a handful of times to like film stuff, and I just asked them, "Hey, can I use this space for free? I don't have money. I'm just making something silly." And they said yes. And so Caleb and I, and a handful of friends and strangers that were just like, yeah, let's make this thing. We all got together and made this really ridiculous thing. And we were laughing and being loud. And then I think in the middle of the shoot, the owner of the studio pulled me aside and said, "Man, it sounds like you guys are having so much fun. That's awesome." I'm like, yeah. And he was like, "Well, just so you know, I own an entire storage facility. So if you ever want to use a location for free, if you have like a short film or something, like you're welcome to use it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I had a couple of follow-up meetings with him to kind of pick his brain, like, what did he want? What did he mean by that? Like, was he actually serious? And he was like, "Yeah, I mean, you guys can use it." So then I get Caleb and I say, "Hey, dude, let's come up with something that is just surrounded around this storage facility. Maybe we make a short film or a pilot or something." And that's where like kind of all started. And then Caleb and I just with our own sentiments started to, you know, mix everything up and come up with the idea. So
Well, and that's where for Ian and I in our sort of creative partnership, we've just done a lot of comedy. I think that is where our sentiments align the best. Really, really stupid comedy. Not high level, not high, it's
very
literally
lowbrow.
just the dumbest, with the dumbest things. They're on the internet. You can probably find them, and you'll never want to us again. But it's for us for Ian, I think that's sort of when he had the opportunity to do this after talking with Masoom, who owns the facility. Immediately, you went to either doing like a 30-minute comedy. You knew that you wanted to maybe do a television show, but
Yeah.
it was like a 30-minute comedy or potentially a dramedy. And you tell this really well, where you were like, that's what you were wanting to do. You bring it to.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I want to do something that's sort of like maybe Kim's Convenience, the television show, or this Australian show called Sisters, where it's like dramedy, but it's surrounded like everything is surrounded by this one sort of location or topic, but it's not really about that. It's about everything else surrounding it. And I was like, what if we did something like Kim's Convenience? And then Caleb was like, yes, that's cool. But what if we use the storage unit and it's a portal? And I was like, huh? He's like, yeah. Well, I mean, like, what if it's a portal? And then I forget where we were eating like burgers or something. And then I
Yeah.
think I was like, all right, let's explore that idea. And then it just morphed into sort of this, I mean, the sentiment of me wanting to do a dramedy and then Caleb wanting to do something that was a little more sci-fi genre bending, and we kind of mixed it all together. I mean, tons of conversations in between that meeting
Yeah.
and the finished script, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what forced the inception of the whole thing.
I think that is something that's really important. Like, Kent, this just brings me back to our film school days. Like, one, guys, if you want to see stupid comedies, we will give you a run for your money. That's all
No, you
we
can't
did.
find our stuff because the
You can't
internet
find
didn't
our stuff.
exist really,
Oh,
or it
the
was in its
90s.
nascent
Okay.
stages then.
But let me say, like in film school, there was a lot of that because you had no budget, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like, hey, my friend's dad has a warehouse. What can we film in this warehouse? And my friend's dad owns that office building. We can get in there at night. But then you get out and you try to go higher level for some reason. That's a weird term, but like you try to stay to your vision, or you try to write. And sometimes I see those little things as like great writing prompts. Like, hey, we have a storage unit. What if we had to write a storage unit thing? And I think creatives can get too
Yep.
focused on an idea or what they want to accomplish. And I think even if those don't pan out, that's an insanely good creative exercise to look at your life, look at your friends, look at your neighbors and your family and go, I bet I could make a call and we could shoot in that basketball gym. And you're like, what if we did a basketball thing? Like, and just write it and see what happens. Like, because this is such a creative, fun thing that I'm really into, y'all's pilot. And I never in a million years would have said, I bet this thing started because they had access to a storage unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think creatives need to think that way more.
Yep. Yep.
And so I
It's
love
nice.
that.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. It's so good to have as a creative. It's so good to have some boundaries.
Yeah.
Honestly, and whether that's and honestly, sometimes it's hard to give those sort of to give self boundaries because, and we talk about this too, because even after the storage unit, we're starting to write the pilot. I write a draft where there's like a lot of high level stuff that we just did not have the budget for. Like in the beginning, for the first 5 minutes, we follow around a mouse inside the storage unit through the unit. It's like, we can't do that. So even in the boundaries, I'm like, oh, but there's a mouse and I don't know, we can do CGI. It's fine. But through that, yeah, for us, like having immediately knowing this is your location, come up with the story around it, whatever that looks like, you'll be able to create it. And we have the confidence that we know that we'll be able to do something. It's almost necessary sometimes. Wouldn't you say, Ian?
Yeah.
But like, it was the same for the Good Cop, Bad Cop, which was the short that you did before that. You knew, okay, this is our location.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to be. That's everything. And then from there, we're able, almost that boundary gives us the ability to just create freely.
Yeah. I feel like having that sort of, you're forced to, you're put in a corner and then you have to creatively figure out a way to get out of that corner, you know? And I think that sparks so much. I mean, especially for like independent filmmakers, we don't have access to hundreds of millions of dollars or pennies for that matter. So it's like, like we kind of have to think super creatively on like how to actually, achieve the goals that we have. And we also did like a lot of like 24-hour and 48-hour film races where they literally just they literally like, okay, open up your envelope. You open it and it's like, okay, your genre is, musical, and you have to have this specific line of dialogue and this specific character. Go write it. And it forces you to have to come up with everything within those boundaries. So, yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, we've done like songwriting exercises. It's the same true with, I think, writing anything. Just what a gift that was, that man offering the storage unit. Also, that you had the eyes to see it as a gift, like, okay, we can use this and we can, anyway, I think it takes both. Like, we need the boundaries to create something instead of like, oh, the world's our oyster. What are we going to do? There's just too many options. And then having the eyes to see, oh, this is an opportunity, because I think we can miss things like that. So I think,
and to that, I think you talked about Cooper earlier, like multiple seasons and how, or, Lauren, you were talking about how you love a limited series. Sometimes why I think there's this issue that happens in television where a second season can tend to sometimes be worse than the first season. I think sometimes that's part of the issue. Is in the first season, they're probably creating around something really solid, a boundary of some sort. Hey, we have this, we don't have a lot of money, we're just going to create it. And then sort of in the second season, I think, in my opinion, Stranger Things was this way. There's a lot of seasons where the second season, it's almost like they have now every resource possible. Okay, you have everything, so go do it. And it's almost like that ends up hindering the story and creative because they're trying too much, or they're going outside of those original boundaries. And so it really is, it is interesting. It's interesting to look at that, the second seasons of shows, and you can kind of see how it happens. Because again, if we were given $1 million and somebody were to be like, create anything, it would probably be terrible.
No, we will.
All right. We'll take it. Would be great. Give us $1 million.
Yeah. I'll edit that part out.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I do think what's interesting is like season 3 was saved, I think, by the mole. So the locations, I love that. I mean, season 3 was my favorite season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Coop, you were going to say something.
No, I was about to say, I just loved how Ian immediately backed away from his partner when he started to essentially disparage season 2 of Stranger Things. I was like, oh, he just instantly was like, hey, this is not the thoughts.
Yeah,
And
no,
overall,
I'm with Caleb through and through, but
I think it
uh,
was the money. I think it was
no,
was it
it's
$1 million?
definitely the money.
It was the $1 million. Yeah, that's what I
No,
thought. Yeah.
yeah,
I always loved 22 Jump Street. The second 21 Jump Street movie where they say it multiple times in the script. Yeah, because now we have twice the budget, which means we'll make twice the money. And then they go, wait, that can't be right.
Yes.
And then he goes, no, we have carte blanche with the budget. And then later he refers to it as Kate Blanchett with the budget. And was like, yeah, Kate Blanchett with the budget. And he goes, I think you mean carte blanche. He's like, yeah, carte blanche, whatever.
Yes.
But I always
Yes.
loved, well, yeah, if you spend twice as much, you'll make twice as much. I love how much
so
they say
great.
that in that movie.
Okay, so you guys, let's do one more thing on making it. So talk about casting, just obviously a lot of great talent. We were talking before we started recording. I was just sharing, Caleb, you weren't on yet, about I knew it'd be funny. That's knowing Ian. I was like, this is gonna be funny. I'm meeting you, but Mark, like, yeah, it'd be funny. But just in one of the more climactic points of the pilot, just seeing the emotion, that you're like, oh man, this hits, like this is, you can feel the brokenness of the family and how that's coming to a head. So obviously part of that is what you guys created. And then part of that is the cast and them coming together with you. So maybe talk a little bit about that, what that was like casting and working with incredible talent.
yeah. So yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit again with getting put into a corner. Um, so with the owner of that uh studio, he ended up coming on as executive producer, and essentially he funded the project, which is crazy. So we had a little bit of a budget, and so we were like, okay, cool, we can use this money for. I think Caleb and I agreed that we wanted to spend all the majority of the money that we had as much as we can on the things that we would see on camera. So that would
Yeah.
be like production design, art direction, and then the cast. And I think some friends of mine were like, you should get a casting director. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we looked into how much a casting director costs. And we're like, okay, well, we just can't do that. So me, Caleb, and then one of our other producers, Elena, we were at a coffee shop and we were trying to think through okay, do we, how do we cast, how do we find people? And we use a thing called Backstage, which is like a nationwide casting, online casting thing. But the talent might be hit or miss. But then in the middle of the conversation, I was like, hey guys, I just recently downloaded TikTok. What if we reached out to some of the TikTokers that are really funny? And both Caleb and Elena were like, okay, that's not gonna work.
It was the first meeting too. It was the very first, we sat down, we're like, great, we're gonna make this thing, guys. Hey, how's everybody doing? And he's like, guys, TikTok's incredible. Have you been on? We could maybe use one of these people. And we're like, dude, what are you doing, man?
I think I said that, and I gave you guys names, and then I just left. And
you
and I-
did. You did. You're like, anyway, gotta go. And then the other producer and I are like, okay, well, I guess let's reach out. Do you have TikTok? I don't. And so, but to your credit, you had a list of people that you followed. I think we all reached out when we reached out to their managers, and we got probably 4 or 5 auditions from some of these people. And then the person who plays Chase, his name is Connor Boyd. He had just gone viral for a video that he did with Marvel's second Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
And they invited him to the premiere. And so he had just gone viral for that video. And we had seen it. We had seen some of his other work. And I think you reached out, Ian, and he responded immediately.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And we had a conversation with him. I think he was very wary of us. He's in New York and he was like, some dudes from Texas want me to be in this movie. Okay. But he auditioned, and when you get auditions for things, a lot of it is sort of like this format that we're doing now. And so, but somebody will be off camera reading the lines of the opposite character to the person auditioning. And it's very just sort of cold and static. But that's the way it's done. What Connor did is he took the frame and he edited himself as every character in different parts of the frame. And he was amazing at every character. He was incredible. And he put the Wii
soundtrack music,
the Wii sports music. You remember but it's behind it. And it was just, he put titles into it. It was perfect. It was like, again, like I think that what they call it champagne casting, or it's this perfect moment of this is the person that we need for this character. And for, when you have casting that's that great, he sort of needs to carry the film because he's in every frame pretty much of this film, or I keep saying film, but pilot. So everybody else, kind of fell in line after that, as we started reaching out to different, casting.
And honestly, we super like crazy blessed, lucked out because everyone was incredible. Like, and we just like posted on this like online thing, and who knows what you're gonna get, right? But we got like some really, really incredible performers that are local, and then some people down in Austin, and so
and some people who we had there's a scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's the scene that I think is the funniest, and it literally is not in the script. And it's the scene where one of our characters shows up to the assisted living facility to go see his mother, who again is in a coma. And he shows up at the front desk, and he's like trying to get in, and they've just closed. And there's a character who plays the person working at the front desk, and they have this interaction that is really funny, and again, not scripted. And it was we had an actor showing up, and he canceled on the day. And so it was one of our buddies, his name is Francis, and he was helping us PA that day. And we were literally like, Francis, you want to just do this? And he kills it. So much so that we at Austin Film Festival, somebody watched it and came up to us and was like, how did you find that guy? He's so great. And we're like, he's just a buddy. I was like, he's a friend. But that's also the magic of doing something like this, is you can cast perfectly. And then you can also just look at one of your buddies, say like, hey, you want to do this? And they can be perfect, just, and get maybe the biggest laugh of the entire episode. So, it's the whole process. This sort of, all I'm saying is there's no right way to do it, right? You can cast perfectly, and then you can also just use your buddies.
Oh man, that was great. I just want to make sure before I move into sharing, Lauren, Coop, anything else you want to hit with the making part? I just want to make sure we get some time for this next part.
I think there's something interesting about, I'd love to see that audition video, because there's something they talk about on Smartless all the time. The Smartest podcast, they refer to it as people that have a sexy indifference. And I always think now they've kind of changed it into like a confident indifference. So it's like Chris Pratt, and they knew Tom Holland. They know these guys that like, they went and auditioned for these giant movies, and they didn't feel arrogant, but they literally felt like, hey, I'm going to show up and do my thing. It's going to be weird. And if I don't get it, cool. Y'all have a good day. I'm going to see you later. It's going to be fun. And they weren't freaked out about it. They didn't over prepare. It was just like, they don't care if you come and talk to them. They're not looking with this agenda. And they said, there's something so magnetic about people that feel that secure about that. And like, that was a chance that he edited all that together and sent it to you, that it didn't insult you, that it didn't just go, that's not what we're looking for. He was just like, hey, I'm going to do this. This sounds fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gets you the part, or it gets you the longest look of anyone that auditioned. And so like, I love those kind of stories, but also there is something about him that he's bringing to that character that is the same thing of the guy that would make that kind of audition tape.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's money.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think part of it too is it was when we got the audition, we started working with him, and this is such a testament to Ian, who was directing this, is Ian immediately started to tweak and change the character, especially when you were around Connor and his personality. And a lot of the wardrobe that Connor is bringing, like, we were very intentional with what the type of colors that we put on him. And Ian was like, I want him to wear this, and I want him, but also that's just kind of how Connor dressed anyway. So like, he wears these bright polos, and and you're like, okay, so it was just amazing to see Ian and Connor work, but then also see the character kind of change around Connor too, was so cool. And again, props to Ian on directing this and really working perfectly with Connor to create this character.
Thank you.
Yeah, the famous Pendleton zip-up sweater and the clear jellies from The Big Lebowski were two things found in his actual closet, that they were there in his room to do costume fittings, and the costume designer was just like, he's got a pretty amazing walk-in closet, and just started going through it, and we're like, found size 12 jellies, and we're like, what are these? She goes, oh, they're from France. Someone sent them to me. And she was like, we're wearing them.
Yes.
And so I love it. Like, he had those shoes and that sweater that is now iconic. Like, those were just in his closet.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Well, let's turn to sharing just with the limited time we have of, okay, you've made this, we'll fast forward in time, and there's a lot we could talk about, but let's just skip ahead to finished product in hand. What is it like at that point? Conversations with, okay, now how do we try to share this so, people can see that the work? What was that like for you guys on this project?
Yeah, I think, the first thing we did was we had like a friends and family sort of like screening. Just because like we finished it and we were like, we don't know what we're gonna do with this. Like, obviously the hope would be that like maybe it's good enough that someone would be interested in wanting to make more. Maybe we could, whatever, but we wanted to at least just show it with like friends and family. And we got to do that. And that was like super encouraging. And then at the same time, we started submitting to like film festivals that specifically had episodic pilot competitions. Because we knew that this is not a feature film, so we can't submit it as a feature. It's not really a short film, so we're not going to submit it as a short film. So it really limited us on like how many places we could submit to, which was great because it was like, this is our chance. Let's just do that. So now, we submitted to a handful, and then we were super lucky to get into Austin Film Festival, and got to share it there. And then outside of like hearing friends and family be like, wow, this is cool, but hearing like peers and colleagues be like share interest and share like excitement around it was really invigorating. And then I think just last month we found out about Slamdance, which, for those who don't know what Slamdance is, it's like the punk rock version of Sundance.
Yeah.
It happened literally at the same time as Sundance in Park City, Utah. And we were one of 5 selected out of like over 300 submissions. And so like, this is kind of, we've been told, we found out, we were like, oh, that's cool, another film festival. But then we were told by other colleagues, like, hey, this is kind of a big deal. You should approach this a little differently. And so fast forwarding a little bit, the hope with sharing it is that, we're open to almost whatever, but like we ultimately want to just make the rest of the first season, whether that's through whatever, I don't know how if it more people like Sue, the executive producer, or if it's literally, some studio or something. But this business is so weird, and we're still learning how it all works. So, but yeah, that's kind of my response. So Caleb, you.
Man, Slamdance for us old people. So Sundance was the thing and the biggest film festival that everybody was trying to be in the 90s. And I love that Slamdance started with guys were like, we keep submitting to Sundance every year, and they wouldn't when no one could get in. It started to get bigger and bigger, and you had to have huge actors, and they were already kind of backed by studios or had budgets that didn't make them independent anymore. And they started Slamdance in a response to, what if we just took the next tier of all the people that got rejected and the punk rock stuff? And so then in the late 90s, for us doing film and trying to come up with stuff, the goal was Slamdance because you actually thought you might have a chance. Then over time, Slamdance got so successful that it's probably the size of what Sundance was in the 90s. Like, it is a big deal now. It's always been a big deal. But I mean, now it's like you said, 5 out of 300 in just episodic TV. That's big.
Yeah.
Like
And
I always say the right people are going to see this. Can't control what's going to happen, but at least trying to get in front of people. Yeah, that's like more than half the battle. So when I saw Slamdance in the notes, I was like, ooh, man, that brings back good memories. I was like, that is fantastic.
That's cool.
awesome.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, I mean, like, again, we were sort of just ignorant. Maybe that's not the right word, but like, sorry,
keep saying that word.
I've done that a lot.
No,
Caleb
it's
recently was
great.
like, don't call yourself ignorant. I'm sorry.
We had a conversation the other day. We were on a call with a producer, and he kept saying, "Man, I'm just so ignorant, so ignorant." I was like, "Man, just confidence, Ian. You're not ignorant."
If you can take anything from this, it's that Ian is ignorant and doesn't want your money.
Caleb's the one who doesn't want your money.
I don't want your money.
Caleb doesn't want your money.
Yeah.
Ian is just ignorant.
Yeah, we're both doing great. See, this is why we're successful, not successful filmmakers.
But anyways, yeah, we just didn't really know much about Slamdance, but we submitted to it, and now we're kind of like gearing up for it and really excited to go literally in like 2 days. Which is crazy.
Yeah,
So
we'll be there. Yeah, it's cool. I again, we did not know, and I remember when you called me because I think they had called you, right, Ian?
Mm-hmm.
And so he calls me, and the phone breaks up. So he's like, and it's right around the time where Sundance also will call you to tell you that you're accepted. And Sundance is such a long shot, but it breaks up on the phone. He tells me, so he's like, "Hey, dude, we got into dance," and I'm losing it. I'm like, oh. And he's like, "Yeah, so anyway, Slamdance is cool." I'm like, "Slamdance? What's Slamdance?" And he's like, "Slamdance, it's Slamdance." I'm like, "I don't know what is Slamdance." So that shows,
Awesome.
very much but again, and like you were saying, Cooper, everyone that we've talked to has told us how cool the festival is from a filmmaker perspective, that it's very, Sundance tends to be sort of a lot more commercial. The films sort of already have distribution attached to them. They obviously have big names. I think I was even looking the other day, there's a couple of Austin filmmakers, and they have a film there, and it's called Sasquatch Sunset or something like that, where it's about a family of Sasquatches living in the wilderness. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's hilarious. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I bet but it has like Bleecker Street already attached to, or Blumhouse or someone, and it's already got big distribution and big names. And people have told us that, like Slamdance is very much the festival for the filmmakers who are just creating, very indie, creating the content and doing some stuff with genre as well, that it's a great genre festival. So we're excited, and, we don't know what we don't know. And so it's, I think, again, like you said, we're ignorant. So it's just great to, great to step into that space and just experience that and kind of see, what it's going to be like. And truly, from our other festival experience, maybe the most fun part of this has been, meeting other filmmakers, seeing their projects, talking about their projects. I think that's one of the most rewarding parts. And then having them, again, your peers, come out and see your work in Austin. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, and I'm just I'm just now talking and we can shut me up. But there's a video that went viral from BYU has this comedy channel that I forget what it's called, but there's this video that went viral from their comedy channel where a guy is being there, like he's a goalie in soccer, and he's constantly being hit in the head with a soccer ball. Have you? Do you? Okay, it doesn't matter. I had seen this years ago during COVID, and it was like I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And those guys had a film there in Austin, and I'm geeking out because I'm like, oh, the soccer ball guy, that's hilarious. You guys are hilarious. And they came out and they watched our pilot, and we were talking about it after. And it's moments like that where it's so surreal and cool to be like, man, I've seen your work before. I've seen the stuff that you guys are writing, and it's really fun and really brilliant. And the fact that you would even come watch our thing is just incredible. Like that you would have any interest in that at all. So I think that to me is one of the most fun parts. And we've heard that Slamdance is very much that kind of festival.
I love that. One thing about the industry, having been in and around it for a long time, is that no one really knows how it works. That was one of the best pieces of advice that someone gave me that I'll leave his name out. He's actually passed now, but he's kind of helped build the industry. And when he told me that, I went, oh, that's helpful. Because it doesn't feel like it's like, what's the straight line?
Yeah.
There isn't one. And some of that makes sense, right? It's an artistic field. And so even though there's money attached and it's commercial, in spaces, it's just hard to pin down into any sort of like, here's the path. So, that's why it's like, that's the heart of this show is like, whether it's film or songwriting, we talk about cooking, gardening, whatever. It's like, you just make it, share it, and then do it again.
Yeah.
Make it, share it, do it again. This is the only thing you can do. Like, I just think about the fact that, is it Masoom? Is that how you say his name?
Masoom, yeah.
Yeah, that he overhears you guys just having a great time and is like, hey, man, do y'all want to do something else? Then take the next step. And then you flash forward to you're in Slamdance in Austin. Austin's a huge festival. Like, for people that don't know, that's a big deal. So, it's like you had to start somewhere, and then now you'll have to keep going to do the next thing, and see where it all goes. So, man, it's just been encouraging to hear you talk about the journey, and it is great. Like, can you watch it now really, or still no? Like, you basically have to be at the festival or a festival.
It's basically just at the festival. But also Slamdance offers a thing currently. There's an online portion of Slamdance. It's like, I think $50 or $25.
I think it might be cheaper. I think it's
You
25.
can see like everything.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's I think it starts picking up a couple days after the physical festival starts. So people could technically, if they wanted to, watch the pilot there. And and then also, like, once the festival run is kind of done, I'm sure, like, I think our hope is like, we just would love to put it somewhere online for people to see it, because that's what we make things. This is a visual medium, right? Like, we make things so that people can see it. And so but yeah, it's kind of a long journey when it comes to like waiting with the festivals and stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll find that Slamdance link and put it in the show notes for people that are interested in that. And then, what's the best way to follow you guys? Just not just with Restorage, but just in your career.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb and I are both local in Dallas, and we do a lot of commercial stuff. So the biggest biggest thing for me is using Instagram. Is I know it's crazy, but I think I've gotten like 80% of my work just through just marketing through Instagram and reaching out to people. So that's where I'm most vocal, and just sort of like posting about a lot of the work that Caleb and I are doing, both together and separately.
What's the handle? What's the handle, Ian?
It's just Ian Verdugo.
Nice.
I think he was hoping for something ridiculous, like my, My original AOL instant messenger name in middle school was Fartmaster22. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've grown up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've settled for just my name now.
I would love if you're working on a very serious commercial, like you're doing just a really serious commercial, or you're doing a really serious interview. It's like, man, yeah, creating is just, and this is life, man. This is it. This is my passion. Where can we find you, Ian? Well, I'm at Fartmaster22 on Instagram, and dude, that's amazing. That's
It'd
amazing.
be memorable. I mean, you can remember that one.
It will be.
Yeah, yeah, very true.
What about you?
Yes,
I feel like
yeah.
you need to go get that at Hotmail right now. Fartmaster22 at Hotmail.
At
is a
Hotmail.
fantastic email address. That if I was like at Slamdance and like someone's talking to you, if you had a business card with that on it, oh, yeah, that would be.
Hey guys, I'm a serious.
I would want to do
filmmaker.
business with that.
Here's
guy.
my email. What?
Yeah.
Hotmail. Who's using Hotmail? There's so many layers to unpack.
I'd love it.
Sorry, Caleb. What about you? How do people? find you?
Yeah, same. Instagram, it's at Caleb Keith Davis. And then, we have, I think, individual websites for our, this is, film and narrative storytelling is something that we are kind of doing on the side. I think for both of us, we're both commercial producers and directors. And so a lot of it is through that. That's sort of how we make money, and then we get to do these projects on the side. So our websites, and Instagram, LinkedIn, kind of all Caleb Davis and Ian Verdugo. But yeah, hopefully we get to do more of these, and Kent, I need to know who told you that thing before they passed. That's all I was thinking about.
Oh.
Before, like somebody told me something.
When we stopped
day,
recording,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they
stopped
died.
mystery
Was it Alfred
boxes.
Hitchcock?
Mystery boxes. When we stop recording,
there we
I'll
go.
tell you.
Okay, all right. Okay. I'm one of those people. I'm like, somebody says something like that. I'm like, I need to know who said it. Who was it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, excited for you guys, and it is. I think, as we've all said, like, it's funny, but it's poignant. And so great work. And
Thank
just,
you guys.
yeah, like Coop, I hope it's not just the coffee that we're all going to go to. I'm going to be there, but we're actually getting to see it play out too. So congratulations.
Thank you guys. Really
Thank you guys.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys so much. Thanks for having us on. Really, we appreciate it.
Thanks
All
for
right.
being.
Well, if you're enjoying this, rate and review on Apple in particular. As I've said, a lot of things flow from there in the podcasting world, and we'll see you next time on Make It, Share It.
You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump. And you might think, what if I fall? Well, what if you don't?